Although, let's see what you all were noodling over in the chat while I was up and away. Let's see. TJ Fate says, I cast Mirror Gallery on the Ladies of the Night. And so we rolled before we went on break. It's on par with Gaius and Quest. If they are mirror copies, they shatter or fracture like glass when damaged. Mass Suggestion, and I think Forbiddance, unless that's Abjuration. Forbidden sounds like Abjuration. Mass Suggestion is also level 6 enchantment. What's an enchantment? Asks Golden. Gaius and Dominate Person are level 5, which are about as powerful as a single target enchantment can get. So I think the only higher level enchantment are Mass Spells and Dominate Monster. How about an enchantment you can cast on yourself, like Self-Modify Memory? I like the self-enchant idea. Why modify your own memory, though? Yeah, to beat Zone of Truth. Or to forget something tragic. 6th level Divination lets you read targets' memories. Maybe the 6th level enchantment would let you alter or plant false memories. Glibness, it's level 8, says Fluffy. Xcat, a 6th level enchantment spell, ritual taking 24 hours. Allows you to move the enchantment on a magical item to another item that has no magic. Requires 4 separate ability checks. If you fail any of them, the spell fails. And the spell has no effect if you critically fail any of them. You risk damaging the enchantment. What, well, a point is brought up here. Which school is, which school's magic weapon? Transmutation. Got it. Got it. Power word jazz hands. See, now you gotta watch out, because if you use power word point, you actually create an illusion of slides that make a presentation, and that you could flip through the slides in front of everyone. Hey, Chewy, good to see you. Magic weapon should use enchantment. So let's see. Mass Suggestion is a 6th level enchantment. You suggest a course of activity and magically influence up to 12 creatures of your choice that you can see within range and that can hear and understand you. Creatures that can't be charmed are immune to the effect. The suggestion must be worded in such a manner as to make the course of action sound reasonable. Asking the creature to stab itself, throw onto a spear, blah blah blah, negates it. Okay. What about... Aha! Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, would it be too hard for us to make a decent sleep spell? Now, sleep does scale up, by the way. So, I mean, you could cast sleep at 6th level. Could we do something along these lines? Norman the Silly, literally take your memory and either remove it or duplicate it into an item. Anyone with the item can live that memory. Rhodium says, listen well, my fellows, do not, and I repeat, do not mix caramel glazed donuts with jalapeno corn chips and salsa. Well, that sounds like a fun evening. Oh, Dark Wolf, all right. Are you going to go to bed? If so, then thank you for hanging out tonight. Oh, your minis are waiting for you at the store, Dark Wolf. Whenever you want to go in and pick them up. How about a spell that does a ranged spell attack with sand that puts people to sleep? Eating weird foods is a chemical experiment in your gut. Derek, good evening to you. Sleep mines? You're on this mind kick, XCat. Well, or think of this. I don't know if it would necessarily have this be the classification for a 6th level sleep spell. But what if it's a sleep that can even put fey creatures, right? Or it's a sleep, or otherwise it's an empowerment that bypasses fey resistance to being charmed, as well as it can actually put elves to sleep. And half-elves to sleep. And some other monsters that might be resistant. How many spells have we made tonight? We made 1, 2, 3. We've made 3 spells, and we've talked a lot about the process, too. The session went better than you expected. They want to play next week. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, Derek. Fluffy Sheep. Oh, yeah, it'd obviously work on everyone except Celine. Because she is... Celine is like a Mr. Magoo character where just wades into danger and nothing bad happens. I think that was an illusion that Derek made. A mental duel. The caster and the target both go unconscious for the duration. The spell shall be named Warm Milk and Grandma's Bedtime Stories. A sleep that works on sleep-resistant creatures because it's shutting your body down can affect creatures otherwise immune, and it could preserve them in that sleeping state until woken up. Possibly useful for finding NPCs that have been sleeping peacefully for centuries. What? That sounds like some sort of fairy tale, Norman. Come on. We're talking real life stuff here. This is D&D, not some fairy tale. Come on, man. And you know what? Bobicus made a point, like a stasis spell. It's not sleep. It just stops their minds. You want to cryogenically preserve some NPCs. Hopefully not against their will. So there's not a... Unless there's one in a splat book, I don't see something like stasis in... Oh, it's not called as such. But yeah, maybe instead of sleep, we could have... It's called hypersleep. Or, I mean, that's like a sci-fi term, right? Or it could be a kind of a stasis. Their bodies would probably still age normally. Or it would be some sort of like it'd be like a medically induced coma. Although this would be like a psychically one. A psychically, Oh, so they would be incapacitated, not unconscious? If they're stasis? Ugh. I don't want to be awake the whole time I'm asleep. If you want to bring it up, XCat, so what I'll do is, for our last spell, it'll be a level 9 spell, and then I'll roll randomly to determine, for the challenge of which school will it be in. And I won't repeat illusion or enchantment. Power word pain is level 7. Disadvantage on everything except con saves. And speed is reduced to 10. I will not... If you want to make time magic, I will let you do so. I personally will not make time magic. Nope, not going there. At all. Personal bias. Personal bias. If you want to make it, XCat, and you even want to propose spells to other people, more power to you. I am not going to touch time magic. That's right. No time magic in this dojo. Gentle Repose is second level necromancy. So let's see. We have Mass Suggestion and Otto's Irresistible Dance is also a 6th level enchantment spell. And those are the only 2 level 6 enchantment spells. Mass Suggestion or Otto's Irresistible Dance. I still like the memory manipulation idea. It's unique. Yeah, we could go with that as well. I like stasis with duration a month, can only cast on unconscious targets. But I also like a mental duel that incapacitates caster and target. So let's look at Animal Friendship, Bane, Bless, Charm Person, Command, Compel Duel. So Compel Duel is a physical, like it provokes a physical clash. It could, you know, it could be an upcast of that. Dissonant Whispers, Heroism, Hex, Sleep, Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Animal Messenger, Calm Emotions, Crown of Madness, Enthrall, Hold Person, Suggestion, Zone of Truth. I do like that a detection is a lower level than a way to actually avoid the detection. So something like a Modify Memory. Actually, isn't that, is there not a Modify Memory? Oh, there is Modify Memory. You attempt to reshape another creature's memories. One creature you can see must make a wisdom saving throw. If you're fighting the creature, it has advantage. On a failed save, the target becomes charmed by you for the duration. The charmed target is incapacitated and unaware of its surroundings, though it can still hear you. While it lasts, you can affect the target's memory of an event it experienced within the last 24 hours. You can permanently eliminate all memory of the event, allow the target to recall the event with perfect clarity and exacting detail, change its memory of the details of the event, or create a memory of some other event. You must speak to the target to describe how its memories are affected, and it must be able to understand your language for the modified memories to take root. Its mind fills in any gaps in the details of your description. A remove curse or greater resto spell can restore its true memory. And then if you upcast it. So modify memory, I think, would already exist for purposes of getting around a zone of truth. Yeah, and you know, not everything has to be combat. It could just be a ritual. You know, Raikon? You could get something like that, like a Sleeping Beauty's sleep. Oh, self-casting can't be dispelled unwillingly. Well, so in that case, would it be a ritual where you're providing the memories you then want to imprint on yourself? Kind of sounds like the movie Memento. I don't know if any of you have seen that. Well, I guess the implication, Fluffy, is because you as the caster have to engage with the person and modify their memory and talk to them and talk them through the process. You wouldn't be able to overwrite your own memory while talking about it. Yeah, I think I'm on board with you, Bobicus. Because you would have to be consciously overwriting your own memory with a new memory at the exact same time. So let's see. Hold person. Succeed or be paralyzed for the duration. At the end of each of its turns, the target can make another wisdom saving throw. On a success, the spell ends on the target. Yeah, it does. You could describe it as you craft a memory, then replace it. Well, but it's still it's literally mental gymnastics to try and get that done. So by taking aspects, so what if we took aspects of, like, hold person? Hang on, what's synaptic static? Psychic energy to explode. Each creature in a 20-foot radius centered must make an intelligence saving throw. A creature with an int score 2 or lower can't be affected by the spell. 8d6 psychic damage on a failed save. Half as much on a successful one. After a failed save, the target has muddled thoughts for 1 minute. During that time, it rolls a d6 and subtracts the number rolled from all its attack rolls and ability checks, as well as its constitution saving throws to maintain concentration. The target can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. An interesting assault enchantment spell. Oh, catnap would be interesting. Something based on catnap could be interesting too, and not just an upscaled like, oh, it's a group catnap or something. The target loses the ability to distinguish friend from foe regarding all creatures as enemies until the spell ends. So what if we do something that does combine sleep with a hold person as kind of a stasis? And maybe we just let's make a ritual. I don't think we've made a ritual. Bobicus, you get a doll that is considered charmed and friendly. That has all the knowledge the creature did. What about extracting a memory? You actually extract their personality and memories, put it in an animated doll or something. A body swapping enchantment, but you have to kill your old body before it ends to make it permanent. You're thinking like a permanent duplicate. Sure, the hero got away, but now he has to think. Well, there's Magic Dart. There's also Simulacrum. You can make a clone also. Now, something that could be done, I think that could fall under enchantment, where you have a Lich's phylactery that holds its soul, and I think that that is more along the lines of necromancy. You could make some kind of a mental repository, like a mental phylactery, so that, you know, the soul of the person doesn't live on, but their wisdom could be accessed. So it'd be like making a computer, kind of, or it'd be like making, it'd be kind of like, if you've played Nier, it'd be like a Grimoire Vice. Something like that. So someone's not preserved in death, but you can access their memories. Something like that could be interesting. Yeah, it has mental stats, right? So it knows the things that it knew in life. It might even have an emotion or a color towards the knowledge. For instance, you know, if the person didn't like spiders, then you speak to this whatever, this mental phylactery, this grimoire, and, you know, it'll say, oh, spiders, I'll tell you about spiders. Because it'll tell you about spiders, but it'll be colored in the same opinion as the original holder had. TNG, the Schizoid Man. Harry Potter had that memory basin thing, the pensive. So what would something like that be called then? So we have effectively like a mental phylactery. Probably a ritual. Willing creature's int is drained into a receptacle. Wow. What is spelling? What is the English language? What even is language? Personality shift. You can charm an individual for a month towards a regret. Give them a phobia for a month. Make someone more corrupt or more honest. If the original is very secretive, the statue might need goading or persuasion to share the info. To spell a memento. A philosopher's box. A keepsake. A memoir. What happens to the body if you're draining away its int? Well, if you hit 0, you're brain dead. Well, the body would die, but the mind would theoretically live on. Not the soul, right? It's just its knowledge. So, Norman, you think that this should just be a mental backup of some kind? So it wouldn't actually drain away the intelligence? It would just take a scan? Or like the Men in Black with their you know, their red, like, hey, look here. You know, who knows what it does to your brain every time you do it? You don't know. Well, the reason why I was thinking willing creature is because you could presumably, if you're evil, you could force someone's mind out of their body into this receptacle. I don't want to give it the evil spell subtype because that doesn't exist in 5th ed. And personally, I don't like that as a descriptor for spells. I do not like alignment as a mechanic. You made a philosopher's box in one of your stories, which takes the DNA of a victim and recreates a virtual recreation of their mind and body to be recreated later. So then something like a... like a memory jar. I mean, like, you're calling it a lot of different things, and that's fine. And can be accessed by means of casting the spell again. Right? So you make it to imprint it, and then you can commune with it with the memory jar spell as well. I don't know. Also, do we want to put an arbitrary time lasting for a month before fading? And then it can be upcast memories preserved for a year at 7, like a decade at 8, forever at 9? I'm just throwing stuff out here for you all. It doesn't have to look like this. Maybe it's an imperfect replica, says Bobicus. Rhodium, okay, you made that. Men in Black. Norman, tearing the mind out and keeping the deceased mind in a box would be very Book of Vile Darkness. Making a copy of their mind to have their wisdom later wouldn't. Just depends on flavor. All it took was a drop of blood, and more nefarious people would dispose of the source material. So what does Magic Jar do? I don't know what Magic Jar does. Magic Jar allows you to swap bodies with a target, given sufficient planning. Okay, there you go. So then, why would this be a level 6? Oh, for a low-level spell, by the way. I don't know if it'd be a cantrip. But in 5th edition, unless it appeared in a splat book, amnesis wasn't around. And that's what let you copy one book to another via a spell, instead of having to do it yourself. So this would almost be like memory amnesis. Actually, that might be a cool name for it. I don't think I spelled that correctly. As per the spell. You have a magic item that can do that in your current campaign. It can only hold one copy at a time. Aha. Aha! This is it. There we go. We're getting some vocab in, boys and girls. I know this is exactly what you signed up to do, too. Anamnesis.
Anamnesis. Anamnesis. Anamnesis. Anamnesis.
I can change it up because we're kind of in the lazy west here. Let's go to here. We'll go to something maybe a little bit more intense.
Anamnesis.
Yeah, we have been quite busy. And you know what this would do? So, this would be not really a gentle repose. Unless we wanted to have that be part of the spell. Like, the body is put into a stasis while the mind continues. But this would almost be an enchantment parody of Speak with Dead. Right? Because Speak with Dead, they can answer questions that they knew in life. Well, this person may be dead. Hopefully this doesn't necessarily seem... Like, maybe you can actually have a conversation, though. It can do more than answer simple yes or no questions, or... You can converse with it. You can solicit opinions. You know, it can only use the knowledge that was copied from the mind. And you probably can't change its mind like you couldn't change it with Speak with Dead. X-Cat is back. You have dinner, chicken, and spicy wedges. Ooh, nom nom nom. You're relaxed and chill into that jam. I can shift it up though, Rhodey. But let's have a little bit of fun with some Arabian style background music. Now, you know, these numbers down here are arbitrary, But for the spell, right? This is 6th level. You don't get a lot of 6th level spells. Now, what you might be able to do later is impart, to drain the anamnesis into a device, into a magic item to make it a sentient magic item, maybe with an ego. Although those terms aren't used in 5th edition, not necessarily. In 3rd edition, you would have an intelligent magic item that had an ego score, and that would determine really how intelligent and influential it is. But this could be a way that you preserve a personality. You could preserve yourself without resorting to necromancy. You can preserve yourself into a semblance of an afterlife. It could create, I'm sure, a moral gray area, which if you like running those style campaigns, this could do it. Yeah, no ego score. Yeah. Sentient magic items need to be used more. We actually had, was it Coffee Cat before he became a PC? Someone wanted to be a sentient magic item on our Tuesday games, and I was definitely willing to entertain that. Like the White Ranger sword. Oh, like I was gonna say Simba. That's not it. Saba, like Saba. Norman. So if we have this as a ritual, it would copy you. It would copy you.
Anamnesis.
It could be high-level games. I mean, you could have a low-level run across them. So I guess really, it wouldn't be completely sentient, right? It would almost be like Fluffy Sheep. It'd be like you're creating a Pokedex, right? It's just a bank of information that you can ask simple questions to, and it can provide you answers. Kind of sterile answers. If the person who made a copy of this of themselves wanted to, if they had a particular attitude, like dwarves are all smelly, then it would, you'd hold up your amnesis Pokedex here, dwarves are smelly. They will never stop smelling. You should avoid them at all costs. You're not going to change the mind of this thing, but it's not necessarily going to tell you or psychically influence you to murder all dwarves because they're smelly, like a sentient item can do. I've DM'd and played games with the player character intelligent items. Some of the most fun for the lateral thinking and novelty, says Norman. Do you die with this spell, or is it like a computer's checkpoint you can restore yourself to an earlier state? You might be able to restore yourself to a prior state. If something happens, yeah. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to take the copy and put it into an item, or to put it back into yourself, or a clone, or... it'll still only last a certain amount of time. I do think that there should be some kind of a risk. Maybe not even forever at level 9. A decade at 8, and we can even say 50 years or 100 years at level 9. But at some point in time, you're still going to fade away. Also, for being a ritual that does this, it should probably be expensive. I'm not talking about, like, a component that doesn't get consumed that costs 100 gold. This should probably be a more expensive ritual that consumes its components. The memento might remember missing its kids. It might say, I miss my kids, but it doesn't actually miss its kids. Exactly. Because that's what the impression is. You know, you ask it, oh, how are your children doing? I don't know. I really miss them. Because that at that moment, that's what the caster was doing and feeling. And so if you talk about the kids, that is going to color the responses you get from this memento. You didn't know the White Ranger's sword was named Saba? I had a toy of it when I was little. Since it doesn't affect the soul, it doesn't necessarily need to kill the target. Forever would be epic amnesis and still only lasts as long as the statue does. You could put it on a rider there too, right? It's an artifact and it could last as long, so if it rusts or is stolen or broken or something. It requires unicorn blood, says XCat. I assume that you would cast a spell normally to create the memory, but as a ritual to access it. You need to anyway to get the valuable upcast. So what, ritual casting time an hour? If you could use it to restore your living mind to the save point, could you overwrite someone else's mind with the saved one? Yes, the blood of innocent fluffy things. Maybe something in Feywild. If it wears out, you can't recharge it. Leave my... Fluffy Sheep says, leave my blood alone. Leave my blood alone. Rhodium, I hate to keep saying it, but if it required the blood of the mind it was copying, it could require a certain amount that would put the user weaker for a longer duration. As an enchantment, I think it's just going to read your mind and imprint it. And over time, the magic will fade. Or you could say, look, lasting for a month before fading. After expiration, there is a cumulative, whatever, X% chance that any memories accessed will be flawed, incomplete, or corrupted. Right? So it starts fading after some amount of time. XCat, you can't say that with that smile. That's just wrong. Oh, gosh. Okay. We don't have all of the details. However, I think we have a solid concept for what a level 6 enchantment spell can do. This one is a ritual. It takes a scan of your mind and it imprints it onto some kind of a material component that is provided as a part of the ritual cast. If the component breaks, and we can even put that here. If the receptacle is broken, the spell ends. Information can be accessed from the receptacle, or I guess from the memento, with a cast of this spell only needing the enchanted memento as the component, which is not consumed. Can you recast on the memento? Presumably so. You know, you could overwrite memories. A Windows 10 version of the spell, says Zuler Pie. Yeah, if you want to make monthly backups of your brain, you could do so. And think of the roleplay implications, right? In a battle, this you know, in fighting, in combat, this probably won't come into play. Something like this could be very interesting for a PC who wants to keep a diary or something along those lines. Or, you know, if you want to run a murder mystery, or you want to run maybe even some horror. And also, don't forget, speaking of forgetting, if you forget something, like what we did with our photograph cantrip, your brain, like if you forget it and you don't access it, your memento from amnesis isn't going to remember it either. Or it might remember that it knew something about it, but it might not be able to recall. Like, it has what you have going on up here. Pecklins, do I ever post spells somewhere like on the DM's Guild? Currently, I do not. And I appreciate that question, because that is something that I will probably end up doing maybe by the end of the year, where I will be putting some content on the DM's Guild as well. For right now, though, we're an open workshop. We'll make stuff together. Although I think that it's something we can do is in order to continue to grow the community, to bring people on board, to share our ideas. I would like to eventually interface with DM's Guild. I am currently not doing it though, but that's a good question. I mean, if the person's no longer available, you just keep the memento alive by recasting. Well, no, because if you overwrote it with, because it has to scan the person's mind. So if you're an apprentice wizard and your master dies, and you cast amnesis onto it, you would override your master's thoughts with your own. I like the idea of flawed information to go with ego. It could be a know-it-all and tell you something, and if you question it, it'll either argue or confuse itself. Could you cast modify memory? I think that would not be something that can be done, because it's fixed. Like, you're not really modifying, like, it's not thinking, it's just reproducing what's there. And so you can't, it'd be like trying to modify, I mean, I guess through transmutation magic, you can modify stone, you know, you could turn lead to gold, but that's effectively what you'd have to be doing, because it's not a malleable substance. You can't change its mind on a topic. You know, if the person said dwarves are smelly, and that's what they projected into the memento, you cannot convince it otherwise. Because it's not forming memories. It's not even modifying its own memories, let alone being open-minded enough to have a spell do it for them. Oh, probably a memento to a memento either wouldn't be possible, or we would get that kind of corruption, right? Because you're making a copy of a copy of a copy. And pretty soon, it's just going to be talking gibberish. And it probably won't recall things correctly. Alright, so I think we have a solid concept here. Not that we can't go through and make other spells and such, but I want to do one more spell. I want to do one more. And we're going to make a big old granddaddy spell, right? I want to make a level 9 spell of the following school. There's eight schools. We've already used up 2. I'm just going to roll a d6 and skip illusion and enchantment. 3. Abjuration, conjuration, a level 9 divination spell. Boys and girls, let's make a level 9 divination spell. Right now, it's competing with Foresight. Foresight, casting time 1 minute, range touch. Verbal somatic material. Oh, a hummingbird feather. It lasts 8 hours. You touch a willing creature and bestow a limited ability to see into the immediate future. For the duration, the target can't be surprised and has advantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. Additionally, other creatures have disadvantage on attack rolls against the target for the duration. This spell immediately ends if you cast it again before its duration ends. So this is giving you inspiration for 8 hours, effectively. Divination isn't necessarily holy. Divination is something that reveals information. It gathers information. It can send a sensor out to gather or to observe or to listen in on, that kind of a thing. And you say it's a time spell? Wow, are there really no level 7 or 8 divination spells? Interesting. So I guess here's a 6. Find the path in true seeing, and then we just jump right to level 9. It's the same root word because I think the original use was to mean communing with the gods, since only they would know the future. Just being able to divine the history of a held object would be a great way to uncover lost, forgotten ancient history. I don't know the spell yet, but I know the name Prophecy. Well, let's see. If you if you want to go off of that, and if we go into something kind of like what wizards might be able to do, or heck, we can break it off, and we can go cleric, right? Maybe we can even include something healing. There's a Pokemon move called Wish. No, wait. Oh yeah. There's one called Wish, where after X amount of turns you get healed. And there's also Future Sight, which after X amount of turns you deal damage. So what if we did something as a level 9 I'm just gonna type out what's on the top of my head, and we can incorporate stuff over here. You set. It would almost be like a contingency spell. You set a series of circumstances that, when met, effects occur, emulating up to 9 levels of spells spell slots used when casting this spell as well. For example, when the fighter is about to die, he'll receive a level 3 cure wounds. When evil Bad Guy engages in combat with us, a level 4 spiritual weapon appears to fight beside us. And what would be a level 2 spell? The first time I am struck with X condition, lesser restoration, level 2, will, I don't know, like bless me or something like that. And so here we have, conceptually, here are 9 other levels, right? 3, 4, and 2 that will occur when this prophecy happens. This is the sword that slew the king. I see you held it, who gave it to them, and every hand that held it all the way to the forge 250 years ago. Isn't that, legend lore exists, doesn't it? I think it does the same thing. Isn't there something like that? Isn't legend lore a spell? Legend lore is a 5th level. Let's check it out. Name or describe a person, place, or object. The spell brings to your mind a brief summary of the significant lore about the thing you name. The lore might consist of current tales, forgotten stories, or even secret lore that has never been widely known. Okay, so you want to see this as more of a guaranteed chain of events that has occurred to the item? The information you learn is accurate, but might be couched in figurative language. For example, if you have a mysterious magic axe on hand, the spell might yield this information. Woe to the evildoer whose hand touches the axe, for even the haft slices the hand of the evil ones. Only a true child of stone Lover and beloved of Moradin may awaken the true powers of the axe, and only with the sacred word Rudnog on the lips. Yeah, so it's kind of a contingency glyph. So when you cast Prophecy, you could set up to 9 other spell, like, so that you would, you're effectively losing 18 levels of spells, right? You're losing the level 9 Prophecy, and then you're going to remove from your list for that, just for the day anyway, and you're going to remove these other spells that you would have had prepared. And you set up contingencies for these things to happen, if they do at all. Sounds like a pretty weak contingency. Pekalins, are there any D&D spells that allow you to cast multiple spells on a turn? Karmagen says the third example doesn't follow the convention for spell level. I'm not sure I follow. Oh, it was just me typing as thoughts were occurring. We can go back and address that, but I appreciate you bringing that up. As is, this is still a lot better than contingency, but I'm not sure it's quite good enough for level 9. You cast it ahead of time, and it's prepped, so it should give the other spells for free at the very least. The version should really add up to 8 levels of contingency, but not be limited to your list. Oh, so it should be any... A delayed blast wish. Woo! That's fun. But this is something that could be versatile. It could be used to heal. It could be used to damage. It could be used to guide. I mean, if you want to set up 9 level 1 spells that happen, and you don't have to do anything. Once you've cast this as a cleric, it's out there floating in the ether. I mean, it's a good spell idea, but it doesn't feel like a level 9. Well, it is letting you float as is. It doesn't have to stay like this. I'm not married to this idea. As it is, it's letting you float 9 other levels of spells that can occur at, at certain established points. So it should have versatility, and we need to stick to the theme of it's a divination spell also. What's the duration? I don't know. We haven't established one. Have a great night, Rhodium. Thank you for being a part of the chat. Compared to contingency, more powerful spells can target any set of circumstances, doesn't expire, doesn't need the silly statue. So yeah, the duration can be until it's cast again, at which point in time you get all 9 levels back, and you can keep the same or you can modify. Without a duration, a cleric could stack a technically unlimited amount of healing. Well, no, so you would have one prophecy going, and if you recast prophecy, it would override your old prophecy. Because otherwise, yeah, I mean, every day, because you get 1 level 9 spell slot, you could stack up heals for a year before you face the big bad evil guy. Yeah, like you could have 1 active prophecy. Your original idea for prophecy was more like a powerful version of the last ability of Wish, but it was only guaranteed to happen within 1,000 years. Well, let's go take a look at Wish. Wish is a 9th level conjuration. Wish is the mightiest spell a mortal creature can cast. By simply speaking aloud, you can alter the very foundations of reality in accord with your desires. Basic use of this spell is to duplicate any other spell of 8th level or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements in that spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect. Alternatively, you can create one of the following effects of your choice. Create an object of up to 25k gold piece in value that isn't a magic item. Etc., etc. You said you undo a single recent event by forcing a reroll of any roll made within the last round, including your last turn. Reality reshapes itself to accommodate the new result. For example, a wish spell could undo an opponent's successful save, a foe's critical hit, or a friend's failed save. You can force the reroll to be made with advantage or disadvantage, and you can choose whether to use the reroll or the original roll. So it'd be based on the caster. Now, presumably, if we want to put a writer that you have to be on the same plane of existence for the prophecy to come true, that could mean that if the fighter is 100 miles away, making a distraction technique or tactic to allow the others to infiltrate the big bad evil guy's castle. That if the fighter is about to die, then the cure wounds will just go off. Something along those lines. If the fighter's on another plane of existence, maybe it doesn't happen. It doesn't occur. The more I think about it, the more I think this spell is fine. The ability to describe any circumstance gives you a very wish-like degree of flexibility. Norman the Silly, name a target, divine their current equipment, spells known and prepared, the entire last day's events and interactions, and a synopsis of their lives' major events and secrets. Wouldn't it be easier to send a familiar with a fighter? I don't know if clerics or druids or whatnot get familiars. Would it be... and as well, in order to deliver a spell, the familiar has to be within 100 feet. So if a divination wizard had this, I don't think that it would be as effective. And of course, you would also be out your familiar. Having multiple ways to do something, you could send your familiar, or you could incorporate it into this divination spell. I think though, I don't know if you can get that as a feat, unless I'm missing something from a splat book. What if you could just do 3 spells rather than 9 spell levels, but you don't get your level 9 back until the prophecy's activated? Because what if I just wanted 3 level 8 spells? That could be potentially more disruptive or harmful. Because I part of the point is culturally, when you've reached this level, In 5th edition, at level 17 to 20, you are an epic level character. All 4 of those levels, you are an epic level character. And so you should have some sort of agency or flexibility, or you should be able to, in my opinion, and yours may differ, and that's absolutely fine. You know, you should be able to think strategically. You should be able to marshal resources, and have some flexibility in what you're doing. This is totally automatic, and it works on anything you can describe. Like when the bad guy sees the 7th key to the Seal of Hell, he gets Word of Recall cast on him. You know, he and the bad guy can still resist. It's just activating the spell at that point in time. I do kind of like the Cluster Prophecy spell idea. It should allow for some stipulations of circumstance beyond delayed casting. Well, yeah, so you would have to word it kind of carefully, like a wish. Now, hopefully, you don't have a vindictive DM who loves playing legal loopholes. I mean, if you do, then... But you can... You know, you would need to choose your words carefully and your spells carefully. Well, but yeah, it could be something. It could be something, you know, similar. It could be. I get the gist of what you're saying, but you know, the spell would go off in that circumstance, and let's not forget, if PCs have access to this spell, you better bet your fluffy tail, fluffy sheep, that Evil McBad Guy probably has access to this spell as well. What about range limitations? I want to cast Melf's Acid Arrow with the potency, but the target was never in range. What now? That would be up to... I mean, that'd be up to you, Karmajin. At least theoretically. So if we go off of what Fluffy Sheep was saying, you know, when the bad guy sees the 7th key to the Seal of Hell, and he approaches within 60 feet of it, a level 4 Melf's Acid Arrow shoots from the key into him. And you've specified a set of conditions that will occur when those conditions are met. How many cantrips fit into 9 spell levels? I mean, they're technically level 0 spells, but I don't think you'd be able to get unlimited number of cantrips with this. It would have to be some sort of, like, actual, like, the verbiage would have to say it has to be spells of level 1 or greater. Possibly Karma. Again, we're talking about a bridge between crunch and fluff, between mechanics and roleplay, and as we're kind of tiptoeing around divination, storytelling, things like that, it would be up to your DM to interpret the condition that you set forth. If, you know, if as your DM says, you know what, the bad guy honestly believes that this is the 7th key to hell, then yeah, maybe it manifests at that point. When the big bad finds himself in imminent mortal physical destruction, he will find himself inside an anti-magic field. Then the quest is now to set up imminent physical danger. And that's presuming as well that the big bad evil guy, because again, we may be creating this spell over here for PCs, NPCs, bad guys, or other agents, you know, spies from another country, would also have a divination like this possible. Cantrips probably shouldn't work at all. Cantrips fluctuate strength based on level and can become quite strong. I think cantrips should be excluded from the prophecy. But yeah, you know, if it is a prophecy and you want it to be self-fulfilling, Norman the Silly, you might set that up where you cast the spell that you could normally cast, in this case, anti-magic field. And in so doing, you have now made a prophetic statement, and you seek that prophecy to occur. And hopefully your DM will reasonably allow for that. I mean, you have... Look at it this way. This level 9 divination spell is kind of the same thing as the background feature of a hermit. Does this spell eat only 9th slot, or are all the conditionally loaded spells? I think we were talking about you just load in 9 levels of spells that you know. You don't have to have them prepared. It's just 9 levels of spells that you know. I think an XCAT. I think just excluding cantrips is the smart move here. It's a cleric spell, so that wouldn't really be a factor. Yeah, yeah. And does this spell eat only the 9th? So yeah, it would consume your 9th slot when you cast it. And you can recast it the following day and reprogram it or whatnot. But let's say that the level 3 Cure Wounds goes off. And I'm presuming that the caster would know when that event occurs. You would still have to spend the level 9 divination in order to replenish the level 3 Cure Wounds, because then you're setting the other prophecies as well. So it is a bit of resource management, or to make wise predictions. Norman, so what we had here, for example, you could charge a level 3 Cure Wounds. That's normally a level 1 spell. But so you're going to use 3 of the 9 slots available to cast a level 3 Cure Wounds on a condition. Spiritual Weapon isn't a level 4 spell, but it can be upcast. So everything isn't the bare minimum. You can scale up. You just have 9 slots of spells that you can set on some kind of a condition. But that's the thing, XCAT, is that they're not level 1 spells. Virtuous Overlord says this spell reminds me a lot of programming. Yeah, oh yeah, you said it above. Condition equals spell activates, condition does nothing happens, right? So yeah, we're using programming language as you would here for prophecy or for wish. I appreciate that observation. Yeah, it pretty much is programming language. Norman the Silly, then if you want to scale up a cantrip, then scale it up. If your big bad can be undone with 18 acid splashes, he shouldn't be a problem anyway. That's the thing though. Cantrips don't scale up by level. They scale up by your character level, but they don't scale up by spell level. They're always level 0 spells. What about cantrips that can be cast at higher levels? Unless I'm missing something, I don't think you can... Your cantrips will scale damage at a higher character level. I don't believe you can scale cantrips in spell level. And you know what, Norman? You brought up an important stress test consideration. Should it only be one spell per condition? You know, so here you might have been thinking that, you know, as soon as the bad guy touches the key to hell, that 18 acid splashes go off all at once. Or should the prophecy unfold in some detailed fashion? But, Norman, cantrips are level 0 spells. And they're always level 0, even if you're a level 1 character, or a level 10 character, or a level 20 character. Yeah, there are no cantrips. They're always level 0. Cantrips scale as you do, because cantrips are intrinsic to you as a character. Because you know them so well. They're just a part of you. They're not really a magic in and of themselves that you must receive from an outside source. And so cantrips scale with you, they're not really an external magic power. What about unwilling condition targets? So something like to cast polymorph if someone does something. And so I would presume just like the spell, if they're unwilling, they would still get the save that the spell would, necessitate. As a DM myself, says Virtuous Overlord, I would have one condition per spell, but I would allow multiple conditions that might play off each other. I could agree to that, Virtuous. As a DM, I want to award creative thinking. Now, I probably wouldn't have something be, you know, cast a magic missile at the start of combat, and my other condition is cast a magic missile when the big bad evil guy is at half hit points. That's too meta. Like, I want flavor. I'm providing you some crunch, now give me some flavor as payment for it. Norman, I'm aware they just count as spell level half when determining how many can fit on a wand, or how much a scroll costs. If that's the case in the PHB, I mean, that is what it is. But as this is a magic spell itself, and not a magic item, it's the same thing but different. Daniel, and thanks to the service known as streaming, you are a part of us. Hey, Daniel, good to see you. Evil McBad Guy sees the key to the seventh sea of hell. I'm nowhere near. How does the spell know about the fulfillment of the condition? As part of the fluff, it's the prophecy. You know, this otherworldly patron that you have beseeched. Prophecy would be very interesting as a cleric and warlock spell, wouldn't it? Think about it. I'm serious. Think about it. Anyway. So whatever this greater deity, this greater patron or something is, the patron presumably knows where the seventh key to hell is, because the patron is the one that's manifesting this magical effect. Daily, just like Firebolt scales with the wizard 1 to 5, 1d10, etc. Cast magic missiles if the big bad is ever harmed by magic missiles. That's right. You just charge up 9 level 1 magic missiles, and you set the requirement of magic missile fires when the bad guy shows himself. Magic missile fires if magic missile has been fired once already. Magic missile 3 fires if 2 magic missiles have been fired already. This is programming. Hey. Yes, your demon you have made a pact can fulfill the prophecy but might corrupt it. I think this would be cool as also a warlock level 9. Now all I can hear is, you activated my trap prophecy. Exactly, Karmagen. And don't forget, if PCs have this, your big bad evil guy, if he can't cast it himself, probably has a sorcerer or something else, or a warlock or a cleric of his own that can cast this against you as PCs. You could just set them all to just go off. And hey, if you did, I mean, you're getting 9 level 1 magic missiles versus a big bad evil guy at level 17 or higher. Is that a bunch of chip damage? Could you start the combat at an advantage? Possibly. This spell is deadly with one of my homebrew classes I'm building. Well, if you want to talk about what the class is, Virtuous, I'd love to understand it. I.e., at the start of battle, I cast Mage Armor. If my Mage Armor breaks, I cast Shatter. Yeah, so you can set conditions like that, I think. It makes sense. It seems like we're all on board with this notion of prophecy, but the devil's in the details, isn't it? Level 9 can be pretty strong. A maximized Fimbulwinter can dump 700 plus meters of snow on a 15 radius area, and it's not 9th level. I am not familiar with Fimbulwinter. It's kind of off a strange class, hard to describe. The class is way too powerful for even test play right now. Hey, start big and winnow it down, and then you finally get to your core. Oh, it's a 3/5 spell? Oh, I think I've heard of that. Isn't that's a way that you can cheese, like, simulating, like, a nuclear blast in terms of damage? Like, you can cause, like, 300 cold damage over, so you could effectively destroy an entire city, because they're all, like, non-combatant NPCs. If it's in Pathfinder, I stand by my previous statement, right? I really want to play as a campaign as a Fae. Yeah, well, just more than an elf or a gnome, as they have their Fae heritage. Furbolgs, I believe, count as Fae, or at least they're described as, in fluffy terms, as having a Fae origin. Furbolgs are fluffy, we know. The magic deals? Well, look. Magic deals, great old ones, Archfays, and Fiends. You want to be a patron. If the city's vulnerable to unearthly cold, then yes, the city becomes supernaturally cold and buried in snow for weeks or months. There's a really powerful, spell in 3rd edition, Gasp, I know. And it took something like a year to cast. The casting time was 365 days, or it was a year and a day, so it might have been 366. And when the spell was cast, it was almost like a death ray, where it dealt something like 100 D10 force damage to someone or a region or something along those lines. Archfiends, Fae, Great Old Ones, and Lawyer Wizards. By the way, for those of you who are participating, number one, thank you. I'm happy you found us, and I really hope you're enjoying the conversation, who we are and what we do. If you would like to join us on Discord as well, you're welcome to do that. Because, hey, what we do here is an extension of who we are when I'm not broadcasting as well. We have a mentor network that you can be a part of if you want to step up and volunteer, and a lot of good discussion. We keep it safe for work, so you don't have to kind of like huddle over your phone anytime you go to the Discord. Look, I know Discord. I'm in a couple servers myself where you have to kind of watch out because there's content on those servers that may not be for polite audiences. But on the one that we have, it should be PG-13, fairly safe for work. Aside from, you know, your boss catching you looking at Discord at work. Shame, shame, shame. And if you do join us and your name is different on Discord than it is on Twitch, I ask that we sync up the two so it makes it easier to communicate. I am not one to judge, Golden, at all. Alright? Believe you me, I'm in the wrong business. Especially considering a membership to the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund and all these other things. I'm not one to judge people's interests and likes on various Discord channels. Virtuous Overlord, my name is the same everywhere. Truly you are a virtuous overlord. And I, for one, accept my new virtuous overlord. Oh, yeah, so Bobicus is one to judge. So you better watch out because between mom and dad, one kink shames and the other doesn't. I'm still scrubbing my brain from Discords. Oh, have you stumbled into a few, Fluffy, that have left you, your pure eyes and ears, forever blackened instead of the white wool that you normally produce? I'm a cat, I am judgment, yes. Ex-cat. Oh, thank you, Virtuous. Carmagen, kink shaming is my kink. Alright, well. Yeah, Neo, go get some popcorn, man. I'm gonna get up. I might not get popcorn. But there's a cat over here. Speaking of overlords, there's a cat that needs some petting, and I need to go top off my tea or some water. So why don't we take a break, and we'll come back and we'll wrap things up, huh? Well, we have fun, open conversation. We can continue to make spells if you want. If you're really on this, you know, if you really are into a creative mode, we can make a couple more spells, and we'll go from there. So hang tight, everyone. I will BRB, and hopefully you will BRB too. LOL, AFK.